All right, let's talk about a word you've probably heard 1,000 times: disruption. We're going to go way beyond the hype today. We're going to uncover this hidden pattern, this predictable cycle that can take this idea from just some vague threat into a real, actionable battle plan.
So, let's be honest. Is it just a buzzword? I mean, it's so easy to think so, right? It gets thrown around all the time in meetings, in articles, everywhere. But what if I told you that underneath all that noise, there's this powerful repeating pattern, a kind of rhythm to change that you can actually learn to see, to anticipate, and yeah, even use to your advantage.
Okay, so let's get into it. To really get a handle on what disruption is, we've got to break it down first. And by pulling from some of the greats, from Sun Tzu all the way to modern strategists, we can build a really fantastic framework for understanding the whole thing.
So here's the first thing you absolutely have to get. Disruption isn't just one single event. It's not a monolith. Think of it more like a family of different kinds of change. And really understanding these different types, well, that's the first step to truly mastering this whole concept.
Okay, first up, we've got the most extreme form, and it's called creative destruction. Now, this is the big kahuna. We're not talking about just improving the old system. Nope. This is about tearing it all down to build something new from scratch. A perfect example: digital photography. It didn't just make film better, it made it pretty much obsolete. It just cleared the entire board for a whole new ecosystem to pop up.
Then you've got what most people probably think of when they hear the word disruption, and that's disruptive innovation. This is all about creating a brand new market, one that usually has a totally different set of characteristics or values. And what happens is it just unexpectedly ends up pushing out the established players, sometimes without even trying to at first.
And this next one, this one is so important. It's called low-end disruption. So picture this. You've got these huge companies, and they're so focused on making their products better and better, just piling on more features, more bells and whistles, that they completely overshoot what most of their customers actually want or need. And that right there opens a massive door for something simpler, cheaper, a good enough product to just sneak in at the bottom of the market. And from there, it slowly starts to climb and eventually takes the whole thing over.
Okay, so now we know the different types of disruption, the what. But what about the when? When do these things actually happen? Is it all just totally random chaos?
And that right there, that is the absolute key question. If this isn't just a bunch of random lightning strikes, is there some kind of pattern to it? A predictable rhythm? A cycle that we can actually identify? Well, the answer is a huge, resounding yes.
And this is where a strategist named Simon Wardley gives us just an incredibly powerful way to think about it. He argues that industries don't just change randomly. They evolve through this relentless, predictable cycle he calls peace, war, and wonder. Seriously, this is the map we've been looking for.
So let's break this cycle down, because this is the whole game. It all starts with wonder. This is the genesis of some new, crazy, uncertain idea. If that idea actually works, we move into a long period of peace. This is where the giants rule, competing with each other on gradual improvements, building up all this inertia. But that inertia, it sets the stage for war. This is when a new player comes in and completely changes the rules, usually by turning a complex product into a simple, cheap utility. And then, out of all that chaos, the cycle begins again. A whole new era of wonder is born, because that new utility lets a million new ideas bloom on top of it.
Okay, and here's the real kicker. If disruption is part of a cycle, well, think about what that means. It means some of it, actually a lot of it, is predictable. You can literally see it coming.
And this is such a crucial point. Let's be clear, the birth of a brand new idea, that first spark of wonder, totally unpredictable. No one can see that coming. Same with trying to predict exactly which product will win, like the iPhone versus the BlackBerry. That's tough. But that shift from a complex, expensive product to a simple, widespread utility, that part of the cycle is almost inevitable. That is the change you can actually see and prepare for.
So the big question is, why do the big, established players always seem to miss this predictable shift? Well, it comes down to one word: inertia. Their existing business models, all their financial incentives, the way they've always done things, it all works together to make them blind to the massive change that's happening right under their noses. And that lack of situational awareness, that becomes a golden opportunity for someone new to come in.
Okay, so knowing all this, how do you actually play the game? How do you navigate this landscape? It doesn't matter if you're the big incumbent or the small challenger. The ancient wisdom from guys like Sun Tzu actually gives us a surprisingly clear playbook.
It's really a two-part strategy. Super simple. First, you have to anticipate. This is all about that situational awareness we talked about. It means observing the landscape, looking for clues, connecting ideas that nobody else has connected. And then, second, you have to act. And this is a tricky one because it's a two-pronged attack. You have to defend your core business for sure, but at the same time, you have to be willing to embrace totally new setups, even if it means disrupting yourself.
And look, how you act is just as important as that you act. This isn't about running around in a panic. No, skilled leadership is actually very careful, very deliberate. You don't make a move unless there's a clear advantage. You don't deploy your troops, so to speak, unless you're confident of success. You don't pick a fight unless it's a crisis you can't avoid. It's this kind of strategic patience that keeps an organization healthy and ready to pounce with everything it's got when the moment is perfect.
All right, so let's bring this all home. We've taken disruption from just another buzzword and turned it into an actual map of the competitive landscape. We now have a cycle, we have a pattern, and we have a playbook.
You know, there's this quote from the military strategist John R. Boyd that just hits the nail on the head. He said, "Uncertainty and related disorder can be diminished by the direct artifice of creating a higher and broader, more general concept to represent reality." And that is exactly what this Peace, War, and Wonder cycle is. It's that higher concept. It's the map that takes all the confusing, scary chaos of disruption and turns it into a landscape that you can actually understand and navigate. Because make no mistake, that predictable shift from a product to a utility, it's happening somewhere in your industry, in your world, right now. It is inevitable. So the question I'll leave you with is this. Knowing that the flood is coming, are you going to be the one building an ark to survive it? Or are you going to be the one building the storm?